Welcome back. This is CerealSnax. Today I'm looking at a game called Bastion. And if you haven't played Bastion, I recommend you do. It's a great game. It's very reminiscent of games like Diablo, Torchlight, 1 and 2 obviously, and all the Diablo games. But it also has its own kind of flair to it. It's got a kind of a Western sci-fi fantasy theme to it. And essentially what it allows you to do, and I'll let the narrator talk here for a minute.
Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. Ain't so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky. He gets up, sets off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed to go in case of trouble.
So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to let the narrator, I'm going to talk over the narrator for the rest of this part. Don't want to spoil the game too much for you. But what basically happens is during the game, the narrator will actually speak as you do certain things. So if you die, he'll say, "Oh, you know, you died," or he'll talk about the story as it goes. For example, in this part, he's talking about how, you know, you're finding your first weapon. So like I said, this game is much like Diablo, much like Torchlight, those type of games, but it also has kind of a console-ish flair to it. I'm actually playing on an Xbox 360 controller. You can run around and you can destroy all this stuff. You know, it's fairly straightforward. You start out with your little melee weapon. You can actually get ranged weapons, and you get special attacks. There, I died. And of course, it said, you know, the narrator said, "Oh, you know, you died." So he's telling your story as you go. You can see the world is kind of generating itself as it goes. It's got a cartoonish kind of feel to it, which I like. The stylization of it. The enemies are neat, and they've got neat names that are kind of old Western names. Like this one is called a gas fella. You know, he's not called like a typical sci-fi fantasy name like, you know, Void Warrior or something. He's a gas fella from the depths of this world. Here's where you get your first ranged weapon, the Fang Repeater. And this is a great game. And this is an indie game, although it was published by Warner Brothers. It was made by an indie company. And you can see I got my little gun and I'm shooting. Now the ammo runs out, so there is that issue, but that's what makes it kind of cool. So there's multiple things that remind you of other games. For example, there's this fountain, which will give you health back. And if you press Y, you can heal yourself when fighting. There you go. Heal myself. And then, of course, you've got 3 bottles, but you can fill them up at the water fountain, so you get another health bottle. And these are squirts, which are a very common enemy in this game. And you can just... that's another cool name for them, but they're little like void guys, kind of like void rays in World of Warcraft. And the graphic style actually does remind me a lot of World of Warcraft, and that's not a bad thing. They've really done a great job on the art, done a great job on the level design. So in each level they'll have a boss and that sort of thing. So this is kind of a tutorial. It's just collecting items and getting started, getting familiar with your weapons that you have and the world around you. So this is where you get your first shield, the bullhead shield, and that allows you, like the other items that you have, to do special attacks, special abilities. So you can see with this cannon, he's going to try to shoot me, and I just block it, right? Now if you block at the right time, let's see if I can get it, it'll actually ricochet it right back at the enemy. Oh, there we go. Boom. So, and then you get a little bit of extra reward for doing that. And then there's these gas fellas in the boxes to fight. As you can see, as you start out, it's pretty basic. You just have your club and your little repeater gun. But as time goes on, you actually get special moves, special attacks, special ranged weapons that you can then choose from. And kind of, in some ways, from a very basic perspective, spec out your character so that you can attack different situations in different ways. You know, and kind of to fit your playstyle. And you can feel I'm picking up money, which they're called shards. It's like shards of the world that are left over because the world's been destroyed. I've got 72 so far. But the important part is that this game is just a lot of fun. The graphics are great. I mean, they're not obviously going to be super realistic graphics. That's not the point. The point is to be artistic, kind of like a painted kind of background. And that's really the basics of it. Now, I like the little loading thing with him falling too. That's cool. So when you start out, this is kind of like the first level. You've gotten your main weapons. You actually fall on a bow, so you can change out your ranged weapons to different ones. So I'm going to get this bow. And the bow is similar to the repeater, except it's more of a one-shot kind of thing. You hold down the bow until it's all the way back, and then you get the strongest attack. You can see I didn't do it that time, but maximum damage of 22. You can destroy these turrets with one shot if you hold the bow long enough. Pretty neat design. I like how the world forms itself. Look how it's kind of raising up as you walk. And I'm not doing too good with my bow, but there we go. I kind of like to use the shield because I think it's more fun to ricochet the items, so I'll try to do that. There we got one of them. It's a lot easier. It almost feels like the lazy man's way. Just block it and then it kills them. So, and you're playing a character called the Kid, and he's, you know, kind of like got a brute personality. And there I've got my special ability, my first special ability, Whirlwind, which is pretty fun. You spin around in an area effect. But like I was saying about his personality, he's just out there to just live his life, and the world's been destroyed, and he's trying to figure out why. So I won't spoil the story, obviously, but it's very deep. It's very innovative for a game like this. You know, we've come to expect Diablo to be a pretty basic fantasy story, but this is not. It's actually much deeper than that. So before I talk more about the story, we've got an arsenal and a distillery here. We'll go in the arsenal first, and I'll show you. This arsenal allows you to change out your weapons. Right now I've got, you know, 2 weapons obviously, but I've also got, I can switch out my ranged weapon for something different. My special ability is on the far right there. I could change it to the Fang Repeater if I want. I'm going to leave it as the Breaker's Bow. But ultimately I could switch this out, you know, put the Whirlwind to be some other spell, but I don't have any new ones yet. Let's go check out the distillery.
One sip of the spirits in that distillery.
Now in the distillery, you have the option to actually pick different potions for each level that you are. So at level 1, you actually have the ability to pick out potions that will help you. So right now I've got Squirt Cider, Dread Rum, and Fetching Fizz. Squirt Cider gives you 10 maximum health. Dread Rum gives you 10% critical hit, and Fetching Fizz gives you the ability to absorb stray fragments. Now right now I'm kind of in the attacking mode. I like to attack things, I like to do a lot of damage, so I'm going to go with probably go with the Dread Rum, which will give me that critical hit. So like I said, with the Fetching Fizz, you absorb the stray fragments. That was the money I was talking about. Let's go, yep, oops. Pick the Dread Rum. So now only when my health is at full can I use it, but it's still really good. It's a passive ability. I don't have to even worry about it. Let's see. Can I move on here? Oh, gotta go. I have to go back in the arsenal, perhaps. Let's go back in the arsenal and back out again. Okay. For some reason, it wasn't triggering the level. So as I move on, I'm getting my black tonics. I don't know if I talked about that earlier, but those black tonics allow you to do your whirlwind ability. You get 3 whirlwinds before you have to refill your black tonics, which then drop from the enemies, so it's not too critical. These squirts actually come out of these little vending machines, which are kind of neat. They're kind of old western-y too with the tonics. You destroy the vending machine, you actually get a tonic most of the time. And if you don't destroy that vending machine, then the squirts will just continue to be created over and over and over. I got a gas fella here on my little barge that I want to take. So I kind of like to destroy everything, get all the little shards. The shards are helpful for buying things later on, so obviously you want to collect as many as you can. It's just like gold in Diablo or Torchlight. Now this game obviously doesn't have multiplayer, it doesn't have any of that fancy stuff, but this game is also considerably cheaper on Steam, obviously because it's an indie type game. But the other thing about this game is it's relatively short. It's only, I'd say you'd be able to beat it in like 10 hours, but like I said, the story is so good. I think the value is there, and when you've beat it, I believe you unlock another difficulty level, which makes it somewhat worthwhile. There's also a lot of challenges, and I'll show you that in a few minutes here. Oops, I died again and again. Gotta use my, there we go. So at the end of each level, you can kind of see here, there's a boss fight, and those boss fights are, oops, I died for real that time. These boss fights are set up just like the other games. Well, that's not related to the boss fight, but I picked up something heavy, which actually gives you more story options when you get to the Bastion. So there's these slug type things that are the bosses basically for this level. So once I kill these bosses, then I can move on to the next level. And there's a bigger gas fella here and the vending machine that I need to take care of too as well. So each level you have to, once you've beaten the boss enemy, typically you have to collect a shard of the world, which then you can take to the Bastion and expand the world. So it's neat in that respect. The goal really is your collection of these shards. So that's the whole story. There's a lot of other twists and turns in the story, but the main goal is to collect those shards. Let me destroy this last vending machine and I should be able to move on. So there was a lot of money there, but I'm going to keep going just to show you this footage. So I got the core, the world core or shard or whatever you want to call it. And then once you get that core, typically the level will start to crumble and fall apart. So the goal is to get out of the level as quickly as possible so that you don't fall off the level. Now if you get to the very end of the level before it all falls apart, then typically you get other things, other interesting items. I'm usually not that good. I can't make it all the way all the time. It's a relatively easy game, but as you know, I'm not the best player in the world, so I'm going to try my best here, but I'll probably disappoint you in that respect. Oh, yeah, and of course I just slipped. So this is the first place where you get to the Bastion. And like I was saying before, the Bastion is like a safe zone. You can't get attacked here. It's like going back to town in Torchlight or in Diablo. And from here, it's like a hub to go to your other missions. This game is slightly, well, I wouldn't say it's less linear than Diablo, but it is slightly because you can kind of pick what you want to do next. Now these two items that I picked up can actually start a story. And that's kind of like a story. He talks about that item. The narrator, the stranger at the Bastion is actually the narrator. So when you put this shard into the center, it then activates in the monument. It actually activates the Bastion. It gives you more options, so you can actually build buildings here. Like we saw the distillery and the armory before. This will allow you to actually build a distillery and an armory, which is great. Gives you that opportunity to continue on, and eventually you have the whole Bastion built out, and multiple people that you've rescued will come in here, kind of fill out the story. So I'll build the arsenal here just to have it. I'm not going to go in there right now. I'm going to go show you what the new options are now that we've cleared that first level. So one of the things you can do in this game are challenges, and the challenges give you the option to get better rewards. They'll give you special skills, and they also will give you items that enhance the story. So if you can beat the challenge, you get one of 3 rewards or all 3 rewards depending on how good you are. So there's like a first place, a second place, and a third place. So in this particular one, it's a breaker bow challenge. So you take the breaker bow, and the goal is to destroy these blue circles, these blue like puff balls, as quickly as you can. So I know that there's a trick to this one, and I haven't done it in a while. Yeah, and I'm not doing it exactly. I don't have them exactly right here, but the goal is to get all these destroyed in as few shots as possible. So I've already shot twice. It's going to take me at least 10 or so, I think, which probably won't give me better than third place. So I'll at least get the one item to show you. But if you can see the items in the cages up above. The one on the far right, I believe, is the gold reward, plus you get the middle one and the side one. And like I said, it upgrades your character, gives you cool things. That's really the only reason. You don't have to do these challenges. So if you're a player who's just not interested in doing challenges, you just want to cut through the game, this isn't critical. So you don't have to do this. I kind of like to do it sometimes as a diversion from the actual game. It's fun to do something different, but it's not something that's required, so don't feel like you have to. I got third prize. I'm not that great. Obviously, I'll have to come back and do it a little better. Something stringy. And I believe the something stringy item actually allows you to upgrade the bow itself to a better type of bow. We'll go back. So we're back at the Bastion, which is the safe zone. And I can show you real quick the arsenal. It's just the same as before, but I believe it allows you to do upgrades in here at some point. Perhaps. I think, no, that's actually not true. Later on, you can actually build a building called like a forge, which will then allow you to upgrade those items. So this only allows you to pick which items you want equipped. There's other buildings like a forge and that sort of thing that allow you to upgrade items, do a number of other things. So that's just something interesting to look at there. So all in all, I would say this game is a buy. If you're interested in this type of game, it's one of the more fun games that I've seen out in terms of a third-person kind of top view, like I guess they call it, I don't know if they call it an isometric view like Diablo, an action RPG, I guess you'd call it. So we're going to end here. I'm going to go to this new zone, and
Now he lands at the intersection.
I'm just going to let the music play because the music in this game is great. And I suggest you go to their website at some point, check it out. They've got their entire soundtrack of the game on their website. So if you just type in Bastion soundtrack, you'll find the link on Google. And sometimes I just like to go on that soundtrack and just let it play because it's great music, great instrumental music that they got going on there. The artist of this game was a woman by the name I cannot remember, but she's excellent too, and there's some of her art on the website. So enjoy. I hope that you pick up this game. I think it's worth it. I hope you enjoyed this video, quick as it is, and I'll let you just listen to the music from here on out. Thanks again. This is CerealSnax signing off.